Hey nerds, welcome back to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Theories and Conspiracies. I'm Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd. This week we had episode 18, The Frenemy of My Enemy, and this was a big setup episode really for the next week's episode and for what's going to come with Avengers Age of Ultron. Basically, I think Marvel's wrapping up all of their Hydra stuff, and so they needed to tie up the loose ends with List and his character, and then obviously Baron von Strucker when it comes to Age of Ultron. But, you know, that's all. We're going to be dealing with that in the next couple of weeks. So what did this episode do? What did this episode have? First, let's talk about List. If it wasn't clear, the body he was examining was Ethan. Ethan was the backpacker that was lost. He was the Inhuman guy who just wanted to get out of there. And he was lost. And Hydra went in, picked him up because they were tracking the quantum energy and that whole really confusing thing. They were trying to find Gordon, and Gordon's powers work by quantum entanglement. It's pretty complicated stuff. I spent a long portion since yesterday's episode trying to come up with an easy way to explain it, but the easiest way is when something is observed here, it affects something over here, and the distance in between that doesn't matter. Einstein called this the, sorry, I've got all my notes, the spooky action at a distance. And so that's how Gordon's powers work. And this actually does help to explain how when Skye says his name or when someone's thinking about him, he's aware of it and can get there right away. Because he is quantumly entangled with basically anyone who's thinking about his name, or I guess maybe you have to know his name, and that's why Hydra and him aren't entangled yet. But Hydra is searching for him, and that's what all that quantum entanglement stuff was. Now, the leader, currently List, he's on this plane that we see plastered on the side of the airplane is Echidna, and we also see that pop up in the toolbox. And what this is basically a private company that was set up by Hydra to develop technology. It's a research firm, and it's a kind of a legitimate face for Hydra. This was set up in, now you're gonna have to bear with me, this was set up in, if you go back and read Secret Warriors #1, there is a explanation of Hydra's organization, and it shows what it's got control of, what it's got its arms in, and there are two private companies that were set up, Echidna and Typhoon. Now, if you go to Greek mythology, Echidna and Typhoon are married, and they're the mother and father of all monsters. Echidna gave birth to the Hydra, so the play on the names there is not a coincidence. So the two companies, Typhoon was set up back during World War II as a pharmaceutical company that was working on drugs, and the public image is that it was helping foreign nations, things like that, but it was also developing chemical weapons and a lot of stuff like that. It was so successful that Hydra launched the Echidna program in this other private company. Now, the leader of Echidna is a gentleman by the name of James Allen Adams, so it's possible that that is List's real name. So it's very cool. If you go back to Secret Warriors 1, I mentioned this is a comic definitely worth reading. If you had read it before Season 1 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., there'd actually be a lot of spoilers in it. There's a list of former S.H.I.E.L.D. agents that were S.H.I.E.L.D., Unknown, or Hydra, and it has Jasper Sitwell listed as an active Hydra agent, so that was pretty neat. But it has a map of locations that are S.H.I.E.L.D. bases and Hydra bases, and one of the Hydra bases, the one that is in Europe, that is of note, is in the Swiss Alps, and so this is most likely the location of Baron von Strucker, is the Swiss Alps base, and that's based on, I'm basing that on what we see in the Avengers trailer, where it's snowy when they're fighting all these Hydra agents. So, like I said, a lot of information in this Secret Wars #1. Another interesting thing is it talks about this base called the Cocoon. And this was a base that Fury had set up that was separate from S.H.I.E.L.D. He built it completely off the books, and it was for his Caterpillar team. The Caterpillar team was run by Daisy Johnson, Sky, Quake, and it was a team for powered people that were in no way connected to S.H.I.E.L.D., but were there for Fury to call upon when he needed them. Basically, when he was ready to go on and take down Hydra. This is the Secret Warriors. This is the team I've been talking about. This is kind of what I think and what I hope is going to happen with this Theta Protocol Theta, or the Theta Protocol, is that Coulson, on Fury's orders, is setting up the Cocoon. So that's, again, all of this, a lot of this is coming from that Secret Warriors one. I cannot stress enough that you should go just check out that book. It's a good series if you haven't read it. So that's all of this kind of background about the bases, what Hydra's doing, and all that. The characters. We had some lovely father-daughter time between Cal and Sky. The coolest thing here, we get final confirmation that yes, her name is Daisy Johnson. She saw her last name, and her father confirmed that he changed his last name to something a little more sinister. Calvin Zabo from Calvin Johnson, so she is Daisy Johnson. But the other thing that was neat, when he was showing Sky the field medical kit he used to put her mom back together, which that's a pretty creepy thing to show your kid, in the filing cabinet there were green vials, and this is probably most likely the Mr. Hyde serum that he uses to kind of, I'm not going to say Hulk out because he's not the Hulk, but we'll say he's going to hide out. Never mind, that's awful. But hopefully he took some of that with him, and we're going to see him use that at the afterlife. He's going to be pretty pissed about what was going to happen, so I can see him easily taking that and just kind of going on a rampage through the afterlife, destroying everything, and it's going to cause the Inhumans to have to actually kind of take him down and do something with him and not just kind of ignore him. So that's what's going on with Cal. Next, Lincoln and Deathstroke. They had their little fight. We finally got to see Lincoln use some of his powers for more than just floating and pushing a game piece. I think something big is finally going to come from Lincoln. When he got captured, I have a feeling we're going to see him. He's going to be brainwashed and maybe corrupted and turned into some sort of electrical villain that is in the comics, and this could be how he comes about. Maybe this is how they're going to introduce deviants. Deviants are a crazy offshoot of Inhumans. It had to do with the Kree experiments. Probably not the deviants, but it's interesting to go through there and see if there's any characters that do line up. I don't know of any characters that really stand out to me yet. Maybe next week I'll have a better idea of who he may become, because I think we're going to get a different name for him next week, not just Lincoln. Maybe Lincoln is his name after he went through Terrigenesis. Maybe his name beforehand will give us clues to who he is. And Deathlock, it was so cool to see Deathlock. I really wanted him to tear up that plane, but I understand why. I just hope they're done having him switch back and forth between teams. I hope they get to him before he's reprogrammed again or got a bomb stuck in his head again, because that's getting overplayed. But next week, a lot of this is going to be answered. I think the team's going to get in. I think List is going down. That, or he's going to hightail it to Strucker, and after Avengers Age of Ultron, it'll all be cleaned up, and that'll be the end of Hydra for the time being. Red Skull could always come back because he, probably just got teleported somewhere. But what did you guys think? What do you think of this episode? Have you read Secret Warriors 1? If not, Marvel Digital Unlimited. Go get it. It's so cheap, and it's worth it, because a lot of what I'm talking about is coming straight from the comics. Tell me what you think. Leave comments, and don't forget to follow me on Facebook, Twitter. Hit up the blog at goodnerdbadnerd.com. So until next week, and kind of the big wrap-up of this Hydra storyline, this is Brian from Good Nerd Bad Nerd, and you've been watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Theories and Conspiracies.